Start.
Yes, provision. This is the second chapter of second canto, Lord in the Heart. So, there are three paths such as Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, and Bhagavan realization to realize the absolute truth. After describing the meditation on Virat Roop, Sukdev Goswami now explained the Lord of the Heart, Lord in the Heart, the localized Paramatma realization, which is one step higher than impersonal Brahma. These are the following sections of this chapter. From first verse to second is Brahma's forgetfulness. Third chapter to six, bare minimum necessary. Seventh verse is tells about demigod worship was condemned here. And 8 verses to 11 verse, the beautiful bodily form of the super soul. From 12 verse to 14, to whom one should meditate. 15 to 22 verse are process of meditation. 23 to 31 verse tells about journey to the other planets. 32 to 34 verse, Brahma received the knowledge. 33 to 37 verse, the last verse at the conclusion of the chapter. First verse, Sukdev Goswami gave the example of Atmayoni. Atmayoni, who is Brahmaji, born without any mother's womb. How he regained his lost consciousness by meditating on the Virat Roop. So Brahmaji, who is the sub-creator of the material world, forgets his position due to the influence of illusory energy, the material nature, illusory material nature. That is the tendency of a conditioned soul. But it can be counteracted by meditation on Virat Roop of the Lord. The purport Srila Prabhupada explained here. By the instruction of Srimad Bhagavatam begins to meditate upon Virat Roop, then gradually one can remove the forgetfulness and situated on Vyavasaitmaka Buddhi. As the Bhagavad Gita says, Vyavasaitmaka Buddhi ekeho kurunandana. The Vyavasaitmaka Buddhi means fixed in higher intelligence. That is the highest perfection of life. In second verse, Sukdev Goswami was explaining to King Parikshit that in his last stage of life, he should not desire to transfer himself to the so-called heavenly planets, which is mentioned in Karma Kanda section in the Vedas. In the Bhagavad Gita, second chapter 42 verse, it was mentioned that Yamimam Puspitam Bacham, the flowery words of the Vedas, Prabhadanti Avipaschita, that was very much attached by the men who had poor fond of knowledge. The elevation to the higher planets is the purpose of Vedic wisdom. An unintelligent man think, but in reality, these are the temporary satisfaction. The Bhagavad Gita 8.16 also says that Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravrtina Arjuna Mama Paitettu Kanteya Punarjanma Na Vidyate. So Lord says that from the highest planet down to the lowest, all are the places of miseries, but one who attains to my abode never takes birth again. So the real satisfaction or happiness one can attain by go back to the Godhead, which is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Therefore, one has to prepare himself to go back to the Godhead, and how by meditation Brahma pleased the Supreme Lord and was able to rebuild the creation, we'll discuss in later verses. So, third verse is tells about the enlightened person. Enlightened person is mentioned here that Kavi. So first, he should endeavor only for the minimum necessities of life. And second aspect is he should be intelligently fixed. Never endeavor for unwanted material things. So as the enlightened person know the reality of the material world, all are false thing and simply bewildering names of the material element. So the desire of, but one should desires for the freedom from the clutches of Maya. He is not interested in the material attachment. Therefore, Enlightened person who have fixed in Vyavasayit Makabuddhi without wasting the time utilized for self-realization by giving up unwanted things. Otherwise, he engaged in fruitive activities, which is a waste of time. And still, Prabhupada emphasized on simple living and high thinking. The minimum necessities is to keep body and soul together. One's effort and the energy for material existence should be bare minimum. The minimum amount of material comfort and necessities available in life, one will be free from the conditioning. If one more utilize the material resources, the more push towards conditional state. So this was one was to minimize our dependence on the material aspects. 4 verse tells that how to live life with bare necessities. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explained that even animal without any intelligence for building house, collect household things and furnitures and cooking food stuff, they are devoid. They are devoid also culture and behavior. Still, they live healthy life. Then, what to speak of an intelligent man? So, Sukhdev Goswami questioned here. So, what to need of cots and beds, pillows, varieties of utensils. So-called comforts of the life are not helpful for the spiritual advancement. The uses of comfortable beds, coats, pillow, clothes make one self-absorbed, and there will no time or desire for self-realization. So, why to give up? Why to give comfort to the body while this body is about to die? So therefore, what bare necessity we have, we should have satisfied. And here the examples also, the Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, even they are high ranking ministers at that time. They are wealthy persons also, but they gave up all the opulence and accept lion clothes and treating themselves as a mendicant, and they stay underneath the tree. They did not stay even 2 nights under a same tree. So, for the advancement in spiritual life, renunciation is very much required. And the 5th verse tells about duties of the renounced order of life. The renounced order is meant for contributing literary work for the benefit of human beings towards self-realization and do not depend on the earning of householders. Engage in discourses of Srimad Bhagavatam like the Goswami used to do. If a sannyasi cannot give any contribution to the human society, should not go to the householders for food, such mendicant is making a show. And Sukdev Goswami condemned it. The renunciation comes from knowledge, and knowledge received from a bona fide spiritual master. The 6th verse, thus, to overcome from the conditional state of existence, one must render service unto the localized supersoul, situated in the heart, by his omnipotency. So, Bhagavad Gita says, ईश्वर सर्वभूतानां हृदय देशे अर्जुन तिष्ठति भ्राम्यमाण सर्वभूतानि यंत्रूढ़ानि मायया. So, if one not render service to the Supreme Lord, then he renders service to the Maya, the illusory energy. Srimad Bhagavatam says about the illusionary energy that tejo bari mridam yatha vinimayo yatra trishargo amrisha. The conditional soul, bewildering by the illusory representation of the water seen in fire or land seen on water, which is unreal. They cannot see reality of life. So, and they entrapped uh, in the clutches of birth, death cycle. So, therefore, one should source for the real happiness, like a helpless child hankering after his mother. A living being seeks the Supreme Lord to achieve the real happiness. 7th verse says about what does the gross materialistic do is mentioned here. So gross materialistic neglects such transcendental thoughts. In this verse, this is says neglect अनादृत्य and transcendental thoughts पर अनुचिंतन वो neglect करते हैं. So, they takes the impermanent names only, the demigods, and worship of demigods is condemned here. Bhagavad Gita says, "Kam teisha hite jnanam prapadyate anya devata." So those who have material desires worship various demigods, but a devotee knows that Ekale Ishvara Krishna are Savbhritya. Krishna is the master and master of all others, and all others are his servants. The devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. They do not know that in this material world, everyone has to fall in the river called Baitarani because of their own past deed. So one who takes shelter of Supreme Lord, he gives protection. Gives protection and take him to his abode. 8 to 11 verse is about the beautiful bodily form of the super soul. The 8th verse is the size of the super soul is Pradesha Matram, more or less 8 inches. Expand from the ring fingers to the end of the thumb. And he reside within the heart with 4 hands carrying a lotus, a wheel of a chariot, a console, and a club respectively. There are 24 planetary forms of the Lord accordingly to the position of each symbol of lotus, wheel, console, and club. In 9 verse says, he is Prasanna Bhaktara. His mouth expresses his happiness. Nalini Ayata, his eyes spread like a petals of a lotus. The lotus, and his garment yellowish like saffron of a kadamba flower or bedecked with valuable jewels. His ornaments are all made of gold, set with jewel, and he wears a glowing headdress and earrings. 10 verse, his lotus feet are placed over the walls of the lotus-like heart of great mystery. On his chest is Kaustuva jewel, engraved with a beautiful calf, and there are other jewels on his shoulders. His complete torso is garlanded with fresh flowers. He is well decorated with the ornamental wreath about his waist and a ring studded with the valuable jewel on his finger. His leglet and his bangles, his oil hair, curling with a bluish tint, and his beautiful smiling faces are all very much pleasing. Now, the 12 verse to 14 verse tells about to whom one should meditate. In the 12th verse here, Sukadev Goswami mentioned that one should concentrate on his transcendental form of Lord as long as the mind can be fixed on him by meditation. So, first of all, Bhagavad Gita says that the klesa adhikatarastesham avyakta asatam chetasam. Avyakta hi gati dukkham deha badbhira avapyate. So, for those whose mind are attached to the unmanifested, impersonal feature of supreme advancement is very much troublesome because the impersonalist is doubtful about the personal feature of the Lord. Always try to meditate which is not objective, which is beyond the approach of the senses. So, this should not be encouraged. That should not be encouraged. But if a devotee, due to the Lord's personal service, progresses very easily. 13 verse mentioned, as one gets free from anartha, like intoxication, sex, indulgence, and that the 6 anarthas, he meditated of different limbs of the Lord. Begin from the feet and progress to his smiling face, then the calves and thigh, and then chest, and in his way higher and higher. The more intelligent, and then the more intelligence become purified, means the more one become detached from the sense gratification. The ultimate purpose of the meditation is purification of one's intelligence. Now in 14th verse, the Supreme Lord is the supreme enjoyer and valuer of the all living entities. As Bhagavad Gita says that the Bhoktaram Yogya Tapasa Sarvaloka Maheshwara Sruhit Sarvabhutanam Gyantva Mam Santi Rikshati. So one should meditate the Supreme Lord to develop a sense of loving service unto Him. But for the less intelligent or beginners who are not very serious about going back to the Godhead, should meditate the Virat Rupa to understand that to understand the Lord's opulence, how the different planets, ocean, mountains, and demigods are different parts and limbs of the Lord's. 15 to 22 verse is about processes of the meditation. Uh, 15 verse says the yogis desire to leave his planets of human beings. So he should not be perplexed about the proper time or place. He should sit comfortably without being disturbed. That is called asana. Regulating the life air called pranaya. And he should control the senses by mind. It is pratyahar. 16 verse. Thereafter, yogi should merge his mind by his unalloyed intelligence. When one is free from six anarthas such as desire, anger, lust, illusion, insanity, and enviousness, the living entity's intelligence become purified, and by purified intelligence, the mind is brought into the into the service of the Lord. Therefore, the unalloyed intelligence and the mind are merged into the Lord. Thus, the living entity becomes seen by Lord transcendently. In this pure state of living being, attain the stage of Labdha, the stage of full of bliss. And 17 verse, in the state of Labdha, there is no supremacy of devastating time, nor there is mode of material goodness, nor passion, ignorance, nor even false ego, nor material causal ocean, and material nature, which is Pradhan. The devotees are gunatita, above the material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. In this state, devotee experience eternity, knowledge, and bliss, whereas the impersonalist may accomplish the realization of the eternity and knowledge aspect, but the blissful aspect is not relished by them because of neglecting the association of the Lord. They does not develop a spiritual body for spiritual activity. 18 verse says about what yogi desires. So the yogi desire to avoid everything which is godless. They know that supreme situation in which everything is related to the supreme Lord. Here it is says Param Padam Vaishnava Amananti. Therefore, a pure devotee does not create any perplexities by following any speculative theories, but worship the lotus feet at every moment. He tries to engage everything in the service of the Supreme Lord, does not create any perplexion by falsely lording it over the material world. 19 verse to 21 verses says how they give up his body. By the strength of knowledge, well situated in absolute realization, and be able to extinguish all material renunciation desire. He should give up the material body by blocking the evacuating holes with the heel of his foot, by lifting the air from one place to another in six primary places, such as navel, heart, chest, palate, eyebrows, and cerebral pit. This yoga is called Sadchakra Yoga. Ordinary means, in the purport, this is mentioned that ordinary man's life air passes through the mouth, but of the yogis, the air passes through the cerebral pit on the head. The 21 verse says, and thereafter, yogi should push the life air up between the eyebrow, then blocking the 7 outlets of the life air, such as 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 ears, and 1 mouth. Then he reaches the cerebral hole and give up his material connection and go to the Supreme. They quit his material body and attachment by seizing such sense enjoyment. In Bhagavad Gita 2.59 says, Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasoapyasya param drishta nivartante. Unless and until one experiences that spiritual pleasure, the higher taste, he is bound to remain within the attraction of the sensual pleasure. One should give up the material enjoyment to understand the nature of the spiritual life. Reach to the akuntha. That means where there is no anxiety. 22 verse says, Yogi maintain a desire for the material enjoyment, like go to the topmost planet or achievement of eightfold perfections, travel in outer space with Vaihayasya, then he has to take away the material molded mind and senses with him. So with the materialistic mind and senses, one can reach the best planet to enjoy, but no one can enter into the kingdom of the God. When the mind and senses are engaged in the loving service of the God, then it purifies and one can enter into the kingdom of the Lord. Then 23 to 32 verse says about the journey to the other planets. The 23rd verse, by the strength of devotional service, austerities, and mystic power and transcendental knowledge, their movement are unrestricted within and beyond the material world. They can move in the Vaikuntwas, um, like Narad Muni and Durvasa Muni move, and within the material world, means in the Swargalok, Maharlok, Janalok, Tapalok to Satyalok. 24 verse, they passes over Milky Way by the illuminating Susumna to reach Brahmalok. And while going to the first, they reaches the Vaishvanara Lok, the planet of deity of the fire. There he becomes completely cleansed of all contamination. Thereafter he goes to the higher to the circle of Sisumara, where the local residential planet of the Kshirodakasai Vishnu is situated. 25th verse, Yogi go to the Sisumara is the pivot of turning of complete universe. It is called Garbhodakasai Vishnu. Then he goes beyond the Sisumara and reach the Maharlok, where Bhrugu enjoy. 26 verse, at the time of final devastation of the complete universe, fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta. Yogi sees the burning planets and thus he leaves Satyaloka by airplane used by purified soul. Here 27 verses is description of Satyalok. Satyalok there is neither disease, old age, death, and no pain of any kind, and therefore there are no anxiety. Due to consciousness, there is a feeling of compassion for those who are unaware of the process of devotional service. Srila Prabhupada explained this real truth can be received from a bona fide authority by disciplic succession. As Krishna says that evam parampara praptam imam rajarishyo vidu. So simply by a academic scholar cannot understand this Vedic knowledge. And it is required is bona fide parampara system. Parampara means if there is no argument or refutation, that is parampara. And now 28 verse to 30 verse is about surpassing of all coverings of the universe. 28 verse, after reaching Satyaloka, the devotee surpassed the sevenfold material coverings. As mentioned in the first chapter in second canto, the sevenfold material coverings are water, fire, air, sky, ego, Mahatattva, and material nature. This verse is describe of the transformation of gross to subtle. Earth is 10 times more heavier than water. Water is 10 times more heavier than fire. Each extending 10 times further than the previous. The devotee penetrates each one of them and reaches the spiritual identity. 29 and 30 versa. Then devotee surpasses the subtle object of the senses, thus surpassing the gross of the subtle forms of covering. He enters the modes of material nature and reaches the egoism in goodness. He surpassed the material goodness and reached the point of purified goodness, which is called Vasudeva Sattva or Suddha Sattva, which is help one which helps one to enter into the abode of Supreme Lord. The Vasudeva Sattva stage one can attain by Bhakti Yoga. One has to practice Bhakti by hearing, chanting, glorifying the Supreme Lord without any offenses and the guidance of a spiritual master. 31st verse. The purified soul can attain love of Godhead and they experience the stage of Santa and Ananda, peace and satisfaction, full of bliss, which is his constitutional state. The one must give up all desires for material enjoyment, give up demigod worship, give up all the desires of mystic power, who actually wants to revive his dormant love of God. And Krishna Bhakta Niskama Atavisanto Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakali Asanta. So a pure devotee is only engaged in the service of the Lord that will bring the stage of Santa and Ananda, because all the material aspiration, how uh, all the aspiration have neither peace and nor Ananda or satisfaction. 32 and 33rd verse. So what Sukadev Goswami replied in previous verses, all were described by Lord Krishna to Brahma. Bhakti path is the only the auspicious means of deliverance from material world, which is mentioned here that Siva Pantha, Bhakti is the Siva Pantha process. So because Bhakti Yoga is easy, simple, natural and free from all troublesome, and it is the sources of all happiness. 6.47 Bhagavad Gita says, Yoginam api sarvesam madgate antaratmana shraddhavam bhajate yomam same yukta tamamata. Of all yogis who always abide in Krishna worship, abides in Krishna and worship him with great faith is highest of all. So in 34 verse, after situated in Vyavasayatmaka Buddhi, Brahma with great attention and concentration of mind, he studies the Vedas. Tad adhyavashyat kutastha. He studies the Vedas 3 times and after examining them, he ascertained that rati, the attraction of Supreme Lord. He became pure devotee of the Lord Sri Krishna and situated in the real loving service of the Lord. 35th verse. Sri Krishna is Sri Krishna is in every living beings along with individual souls. Is described here. As Bhagavad Gita says, 13.23, Upadeshta Anumanta cha Bharta Bhakta Maheshwara Paramatma te chapyokto deha asmin purusha paraha. Yet in this body there is another a transcendental enjoyer who is Lord, the supreme proprietor, overseer, and permitter, who is known as Paramatma, the super self. And Upanishad also says that Samana Brukya Purusha Nimogno Anisaya Sochati Muhyaman. The super self and the individual self are in the same tree, but they cannot be equal level because the super self gives direction or supplies supplies intelligence, and individual soul follow the directions. This fact is perceived by the act of seeing and taking help from the intelligence. Realization of the super soul by individual soul is in the beginning of the self-realization. Then one is able to realize Bhagavana by intelligence, by the help of authorized scripture like Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, by a bona fide parampara system. And last 36 and 37 is the concluded verses. How bhakti is the superior. And it is the this verse is the answer of King Parikshit's questions. Parikshit the question that what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not to do. So Sukdev Goswami answered that therefore, hearing, glorifying, remembering of the Supreme Lord is essential for any human being. Every human being, always and everywhere. In Srimad Bhagavatam says that शृणवतांसो कथा कृष्ण पुण्य श्रवण कीर्तना हृदय अंतस्थो हि अभद्राणि विधुनाति श्रुहेत सताम. So Sri Krishna, who is the Paramatma in everyone's heart and benefactor of the all truthful devotee, cleanses the material desire from the heart and to develop the urge to hear his message, which are in themselves virtue when properly heard and chanted. And now, from whom one should hear? One should hear about Supreme Lord by the authorized person through Guru Parampara system. One should heard with attention and glorify him always. And Srimad Bhagavatam second canto, first chapter also mentioned that one who desires to be free from all misery must hear about and glorifying and remember the Supreme Lord, who is Super Soul and the controller and savior from all misery. तस्मात् भारत सर्वानां भगवान ईश्वर हरि श्रोतव्य कीर्तितव्यस्य स्मरतव्यस्य इच्छातम अभयम. And 37 verse, Sukdev Goswami says, who drinks through the ear Sravana Puteshu, a fully filled nectarian message of Lord, it purifies the polluted aim of life. Vishaya Vidushita Ashayam, as material enjoyment, that is, and thus go back to the Godhead. And also नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्तिर भवति नैष्टिकी. Yes, Bhagavatam says also by regular attendance in Bhagavatam classes and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all the troublesome of the heart is completely destroyed. This is the remedy in the path of self-realized is to the association of the pure devotees. And the book Bhagavata, that is Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So one should hear the message of Supreme Lord from a pure devotee like Sukdev Goswami, who gives the higher intelligence of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the torchlight to see the real path. Thus, the conclusion part is the process of the Bhakti Yoga. By sufficient hearing of the transcendental message of the Lord, the material contamination is directly removed without one's attempting to contemplate in impersonal Virat conception or Brahma conception of the Lord. And all the process in this chapter which was discussed to attain liberation, such as how person meditation process, जैसे asana, pratyahar, pranayam, and Sadachakra yoga, the Ashtanga yoga for achievement 8 siddhis, and moving different higher planets, all are the indirect process. Therefore, one should accept the direct path of the bhakti to attain the supreme personality of Godhead. Hare Krishna. Prabhuji.
Thank you very much, Priyanka. Sonika, you please assess. You are hearing?
यस प्रभु, स्टार्टिंग के कुछ वर्ड्स नहीं सुन पाई थी, बाकी उसके बाद पूरा कंटिन्यू किया था प्रभु।
Go ahead.
Yes, प्रभु। So all the aspects was, as I heard, all the aspects was very nicely covered. They were just. I have few doubts also. I will ask it later. And one suggestion means one small suggestion was there that in verse number 30, you were explaining about the Vasudeva Sattvam. And after that, there was one important point which I felt that it was describing about that. 1 minute. Few points were there. How to protect our that devotional services means how means our devotional services can be protected and how it can be affected. So this point was important for us practically. So it can be discussed during this presentation. That was my submission, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes.
And Hare Krishna Mataji. You're saying about 30 verse?
Yes, verse number 30. In purport, Srila Prabhupada has explained it point wise.
Yes, Srila
Yeah.
Prabhupada mentioned here about bhakti yoga processes.
How to protect our means devotions means our bhakti.
Yes, Mataji. Srila Prabhupada said that we have to chant. जैसे कि chant का 3 stages है, नामाभासो and नामाभासो. Sorry, first is अपराध युक्त नाम, second is नामाभासो and third is शुद्ध नाम. तो पहले हम जो भी करते हैं वो अपराध युक्त हो जाता है जो, और बाद में जैसे ही हम थोड़ा सा हायर लेवल पर आते हैं, हम मेडिटेट कर पाते हैं, तो दैट इज कॉल्ड नामाभास. एंड बियॉन्ड द थर्ड स्टेज जो होता है वो होता है शुद्ध नाम. जो यहाँ पर क्या होता है ना, जो भी हम परफॉर्मर प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, इट इज ऑफेंसलेस. और प्रभुपाद हियर मेंशन्ड अबाउट हमारे जो 10 ऑफेंस ऑफ द होली नेम, उसको अवॉइड कर कर और कैसे नाम को हम एंड ही सेज अबाउट द क्रीपर्स, जो भक्तिलता बीज को कैसे हम प्रोटेक्ट कर सकते हैं, इसके बारे में पूरा पकपोट में मेंशन है माता जी.
यस माता जी मेरा एक डाउट था. जैसे आपने इसमें बताया था कि श्लोक वर्स नंबर 26 एंड 27 में, एक्चुअली 27 में it was mentioned. Just a minute. It was mentioned that in the planet of Satyaloka there is neither bereavement nor old age nor death. It was mentioned there, Mataji. So Mataji, my question was that Satyalok is also a part of this material world, and Lord Krishna himself told that in material world everyone will go through the birth, death, old age and disease. So how it is justified here, Mataji? Just wanted to clarify.
Is the question clear to you, Priyanka?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes, Mataji, here it is mentioned in the planet of Satyaloka there is neither bereavement because there is no old age and nor death. Yes, Mataji, it is mentioned here, but अगर मैं स्पेकुलेट तो नहीं करना चाहती, बट अगर मैं मतलब मुझे जो लगता है कि हियर इन सत्यलोक देयर इज लाइफ स्पैन इज सो लॉन्ग, सो मे बी इसलिए यहाँ पे मेंशन किया गया है, बट इट इज सत्यलोक इज considering in material world. But Prabhuji, you can explain, Prabhuji. I have.
See, okay, here what is being mentioned. See, this is the gradual progress stage. That is how the path of yogi, he progresses from the material world towards the spiritual world. This is being explained. I'll share the verse. We should see in reference to what is being presented. Okay. So before this, he was moving from one loka to another loka, Vaishnavara loka, then Shishumara, then third stop is Maharlok, and the final stop, which is Brahmalok. And from Brahmalok, what is expected that he will go to the spiritual world. So here it is saying, at the time of the final devastation of the complete universe, at the end of the duration of Brahma's life, a flame of fire emanates from the mouth of Ananta. The yogi sees all the planets of the universe burning to ashes. That is where? Below Brahmaloka. And thus he leaves for Satyaloka by airplanes used by the great purified souls. The duration of life in Satyaloka, as you said, is very, very, elongated. So this is talking about the progress, how the yogi from one stage, he goes to the higher stage. And he is in a stage where he is about to transcend the material world. This is the highest planet, or this planet is the closest to the spiritual planet. So that is why it is being said here that this next verse is speaking, 27th verse is speaking about, in that planet of Satyaloka, there is neither bereavement, nor old age, nor death. There is no pain of any kind, and therefore there are no anxieties. Due to consciousness, this is the point. This you have missed. So he is in what consciousness? What is his consciousness, Sonika?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah, God consciousness, Prabhuji.
He is in
Krishna.
completely purified consciousness. He is already liberated. What does liberation mean?
Prabhuji, above all the matters, as Mataji explained that.
Liberation means no birth, no death, no old age.
Yes, Prabhuji.
If there is birth, death, and old age, where is liberation? Yes or no?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Then I'll give you so many words from Bhagavad Gita. We say that while you are in this material world, you can be liberated. Gunanetat atityatin dehi deha samudbhava janma mrityu jara dukkher mukta amrut ashrute. Even in this body, even in this world, one is freed. How? Consciousness. That is why Prabhupada has created this society for International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's clear here. There is a feeling of, and then he is liberated. Then is a feeling of passion for those who are unaware of the devotional process. So they are subject to all these miseries. Then he says, who are subjected to unsurpassable miseries of the material world. Why? Because he has surpassed. So he has that compassion. Why we don't have that compassion? Because we are still within that realm. So she quoted very beautifully. She quoted that verse from Parampara. That how one who is falling in the Parampara. Anyone caught that explanation she said? She explained this. Anyone remembers how she presented the Parampara? No one heard. Very importantly, she explained. Yes, Ramya? बोलो. गौरांगी बैठ जा, बहुत शैतानी करी, चुपचाप बैठ जा. Sit down. Sit. And here, Bolo, Ramya, how she explained this can be achieved in Parampara. But here with attention, she took out many, many finer points. Bolo, no one heard or paid attention. Ravinder, you shared, you were sitting next.
प्रभुजी एवं परंपरा प्राप्तम इमं राजर्षि
I am not asking this shloka, yaar. Who's asking this shloka? How the process works?
without argument and refutation, one should
Yes.
accept.
Yes, that was the statement. That was the statement of the entire presentation. Thank you, Sonika, for asking this question, because all of you did not note that. And I was so happy to hear that. Without argument and refutation, with faith when one is following, he will surpass that stage. Here, Ramya, don't allow the girl to distract you. If she is a playful child, she will do that. Here, this most important message of this evening. No argument, no refutation. That is what it means to be in Parampara. It is not mentioned. Is it mentioned in the purport? It is not mentioned. So where did you quote from, Priyanka?
By hearing your classes from.
And I heard it. I heard it from Rukmani Krishna Prabhu. Parampara means no refutation, no arguments. This is the most important message of today's verses, of today's presentation, of today's chapter. So those who are coming in Parampara, they will surpass, they've already surpassed the material miseries. Prasade sarva dukkhanam haniyasya upajayate prasanna chetasa hi asu buddhi paryavatishtato. This is in the second chapter, 66th or 67th verse. They already surpassed. Okay. Why only in Brahmaloka? Even in this Mrityuleka, they have surpassed. Okay. I'm very happy. You did not do justice to doing the observation. She quoted so many verses and so many statements which were purely based on hearing. That is actually following Parampara. Shruto Pantha. The path of Krishna consciousness is Shruto Pantha. Is to connect through the hearing process. Okay, I have one question, Priyanka. Why, when the super soul meditation is given, why so much Virat Rupa is being mentioned here? Why Virat Rupa is mentioned?
The Virat Rupa is mentioned here for those neophytes, those who are not serious to go to the Godhead.
Anyone else? There is one major difference. Who can become whose dhyan ashray? Actually, this is the ashray. What is the ashray? Of one's meditation. So in the first chapter, the first step in God realization was Virat Rupa. But here the Lord in the heart is the Paramatma feature. Yes, Ramya, what is the difference?
Hare
What-
Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Prabhuji, in the first chapter, actually, there are talk about those who have some material desires, that is Sakam, and here in the second chapter they are Niskam, or
Very-
they have any material desire. So the person who are Sakam, they can liberate or they can uplift by meditating on this that is universal form of the Lord, and the Niskam Bhakta, they can meditate upon the super soul feature of the Lord. And all of them were present at that place. So Srila Sukadev Goswami talk about all of the process.
Very good. Again, you are quoting on based on hearing. Yeah, very good. Precise answer. See, the ashraya of Paramatma or Bhagavan cannot be achieved for those who are having material desires. So unless and until one is detached, or one is in the certain stage of renunciation, he cannot connect to the Paramatma feature. What to speak of Bhagavan? Very good, precise answer. This is the difference. So unless and until one has become advanced sufficiently, what it means? That means in his heart there is sufficient renunciation and detachment. He cannot meditate on the super soul. So you missed this point, Priyanka. You did not focus on this point. It's an important point. Yeah, you said you began with there are three different aspects: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, and Bhagavan. This is the essential difference between Brahmeti and Paramatmeti. Okay. But all in all, very good presentation. Good effort. Very sincerely. You quoted so many Sanskrit terms, Sanskrit words, and explained them also. You put your heart in the study, in hearing, in making notes. How many pages notes you made?
15 to 16 pages.
This is heart one. The Paramatma is where? In the heart. Feel happy? 16 pages of note making is how many hours? At least 6 to 8 hours. Yes, this is what life is meant for. Otherwise, what we will do? We will just waste the opportunity. We will just waste the life. Okay, anyone else has any questions? Yes, Ramya.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Priyanka Mataji, for your very elaborate explanation. Actually, I want to glorify Mataji, Prabhuji. I just very much impressed by her presentation. It was very flawless presentation without any disturbances. She mentioned so many Sanskrit words. She explained very well. And I want a suggestion, Mataji, that verse number 5. You just elaborate, you just mix some point. There are very important points in the purport by Srila Prabhupada. So you can share that also.
You cite one or two? Cite one. It's talking about minimum necessities of life.
That is about Prabhuji duties of the renounced order of life.
Okay, in the 5th verse it talks about it. Give one example. What you want to emphasize?
Prabhuji, here Srila Prabhupada actually emphasized on how we should renounce on our material things and should cultivate the spiritual assets. Should give importance on cultivating spiritual assets.
Yeah, that is it. We have to save our energy and time, not in accumulating material possessions, but bare minimum necessities of life and full utilization of time and energy in spiritual cultivation. Yes, that is it. Okay. Where is Dayāśīl Prabhu? He has no participation today. Is he not hearing?
Prabhuji, he heard some of the points and he went to IARI for Saturday class. There is a meeting.
Okay. Now, at 9 o'clock in the night?
Yes.
Okay. That is also important service. Manoram?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavad Pranam. Yes, what actually Ramya Mataji was telling, I was very much connecting. Although there are some disturbances, but the fluency actually, Prabhuji, and the way the quotations Mataji made in support of all the statements, I think it is very much purifying and also giving descriptions as she has made very hard work definitely because it was looking from the fluency she was speaking and
Looking
there
or
is
you are
no gap
hearing?
actually.
Looking or hearing?
Yeah, I was hearing, but Mataji was referring to her notes so that I could realize that how she was connecting to every verses without giving any gaps in between. So that is what, and of course, I think what actually later part only I could hear, probably there are some internet issues, but those parts also, the different stages of chanting and mostly Mataji gave very important conclusion at the end. So at least I think I could get connected that what message actually from this chapter, because initially I could not get connected, and then from discussion it was very much clear and what Ramya Mataji also supported about like Virat Rupa and this super soul feature who actually concentrate. So I think these aspects were very much important. So I'll just thank Mataji and I think the message is clear, Prabhuji. The conclusion is clear now. So I'll just thank
What is the
Mataji for
conclusion?
this.
Okay, may I ask what is the purpose of this chapter?
Yes, so actually, Prabhuji is just there is a discussion from verse number 27 that conveys the message that without argument and refutation, when one follows the parampara, then one surpasses all other yogic process that has been mentioned in this chapter. So basically, this actually should be the main spirit, like without argument and refutation. And the second message, what was at last discussed, Prabhuji, that who concentrates on Virat Roop and who on Paramatma or Super Soul feature. So these two messages, I think, Prabhuji, it was clear from this discussion.
There is one more very important essential message. Who has picked that up from this chapter? Pranav?
We should engage in the process of hearing, chanting, and remembering. This is the ultimate conclusion.
What is the basis of this conclusion? The very important aspect we have not discussed in this chapter. Very, very important aspect. That link is still missing.
That all other yogic process, these are troublesome. This is not easy to follow.
That is still secondary.
Mataji quoted the
There is
verse
one
from
primary reason mentioned in this chapter. What is that? Verse number 33 and 34. These are the two connecting verses. Very important. That bhakti is the most auspicious path. She said, Shiva Pantaha. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yogo Yato Bhavet. And what is the proof? Verdict of Brahmaji. That Brahmaji He very scrutinizingly studied the Vedas. How many times? 3 times. And then he gives us this process how to cultivate rati, the path which leads us to attraction toward Lord Shri Krishna, that is the highest. Tad adha vashyat kutostho ratir atmo yato bhavet. And how that is to be cultivated, that is the conclusion in the verse number 36 and 37. Now, basis of verdict of Brahmaji, that after 3 times scrutinizing, studying the Vedic literatures, he comes to this conclusion. And that path is mentioned here as Shrotavya Kirtitavyasya Smartavya Bhagavan now. Okay, we'll conclude here. It is quite a time, 9:45. Who is next? Ramya,
Yes, Prabhuji.
tomorrow you will speak.
Yes, Prabhuji.
2.3. And we are still studying 2.4. हाँ? सोनिका, तुम्हारा प्रेजेंटेशन तो रह गया.
Yes, Prabhuji.
कल के बाद दे दो, परसों.
कौन सा चैप्टर प्रभुजी?
वो चैप्टर दिया था वही 118.
अच्छा, ओके ओके प्रभुजी.
हमें उससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है? We will connect.
ओके ओके प्रभुजी.
Thank you all very much. श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय. यदा गौर प्रेमानंदी हरि हरि.